You are listening to the audio portion of the QB Power Hour webinar series. The QB Power Hour is a free biweekly webinar series for accounting professionals presented by Michelle Long and Dan DeLong, who are very passionate about the industry, QuickBooks, and apps that integrate with QuickBooks. You can find out all the details about the webinar series at qbpowerhour.com. So without further ado, here's Michelle and Dan.
Welcome to another QB Power Hour. Michelle, how are you? It's great to see you. How are you enjoying retirement?
I am enjoying it. I am really enjoying that, except I did see the call for speakers for Scaling New Heights 25 come out, and it was sad not to be applying for that. But hey, it's also cool. I don't have to come up with all these ideas that are going to be rejected.
Right. What was the most sessions you've done? It's so many training sessions that you've done at one time. How many was that?
I've done easy 5 or 6 one year.
Oh my Lord.
I know you don't even get to enjoy the conference. Yeah, you don't get to go and enjoy the conference when you're presenting every day. You're always nervous every day. So it's
exactly.
Nice to ending. Yeah.
It's gotta be butterflies all the time.
Yeah. But hey, I'm good to see you today. Glad to see you. And how is things going there? Like a little scruffiness?
Yeah, it's good. So I'm not really kissing my wife lately. I've decided to let the beard go. And my wife had an ankle fusion, and thanks to you, Michelle, for sharing a lot of the support network. It's been really helpful. But yeah, she's definitely a patient. And Nate Pistons of my alarm to give her some ibuprofen just went off at the same time as we're going live here. But my daughter-in-law is upstairs, so she can assist with that. So anyway,
she needs those pain pills.
Exactly, yeah, as you can attest, right? Yeah. But being non-weight bearing for a period of time. Okay, so we have the long awaited for QBO Updates. We've been kicking this one down the pike with other things that have been coming up lately. So we want to make sure that we have every so often a compilation of things that have been going on with QuickBooks Online, and just take a pulse check of the new features and those types of things. We ended up with Matt having quite a discussion about the pricing updates, which kind of pushed the new features to this one. So this is what we're going to talk about mostly today. It's just some of the things that we've seen in the know webinars that have come out, because QuickBooks does put out a monthly what's new, either a webinar or at least a blog post of new features and updates, reasons to justify the pricing increases year over year. So we do want to unpack some of those things, as well as a pretty hot topic, I think, is within the Facebook group. And we'll go through that. But Michelle, go ahead and introduce yourself for those that are just joining us for the first time and don't know who the heck is Michelle.
Welcome, everybody. Owner of Lawn for Success. Had my practice for long time, 30 plus years. Recently announced my retirement. It's still hanging around to help out Dan and keep in contact with everybody and everything. Author of 5 different books. You can check those out on Amazon. Was a trainer for Intuit for a long time, from about 2007 until they sunset the Trainer Runner Network, and just love being around and chatting with you all and keeping up with what's going on in the QuickBooks world. So enough about me. Dan, go ahead.
All right. My name is Dan DeLong, and this brand new slide, courtesy of Matthew Fulton. I appreciate him readjusting and laying out his OCD took over and made this slide a little prettification. But owner at Danwit, School of Bookkeeping, worked at Intuit for nearly 18 years, co-hosting today as well as the workshop Wednesdays over at schoolofbookkeeping.com, and doing some tech editing for the QBO or the Dummies series of books for QBO and QuickBooks all in one, which is what I'm going to be doing the rest of the day. They are under the gun with regard to the publishing, so we need to get those edited for them. A little bit about the details about QuickBooks, the QB Power Hour webinar series. It's every other Tuesday at 12 noon. And then beginning this webinar and the first webinar of each month, our friends at Makers Hub, they have graciously offered to be the CPE sponsor for the QB Power Hour series. So the first one of each month will be eligible for 1 hour of CPE credit. And in doing so, Ted is lurking in the background just to make sure that he's participating for that webinar. But if you need the slides, I did put the slide link in the chat. So if you want to grab those slides there, but they're always at qbpowerhour.com/resources, as well as recordings, podcasts, and other resources as well. A little bit of housekeeping. If you do have any particular questions about topics that we're talking about here today, please put them in the Q&A, especially today, because I'm all disheveled. Because normally, if you can tell by the background, I'm in a different room and I'm at my son's house, delegated to the basement, his game room that he has here. So it's really warm with all the computers that are running here in the background, but thankfully, I don't have to worry about Wi-Fi, because that as an online gamer, you definitely need to have your speed. So I shouldn't have any glitches or lag or anything like that, because that would be horrible for an online gamer to have. But everything is in a new position for me. So I appreciate if you would put questions in the Q&A and then comments in the chat to make it a little easier for all of us to follow along. And then, of course, you have links there for the handouts as well. So new for 2024, we are simulcasting, which reminds me I need to send that over to the Facebook groups and everything. But if you are watching in the Facebook group, there is a QR code there in order to allow us to see who you are when you comment, as well as our store. So you can always check out the QuickBooks Power Hour swag at the store there. All right. So with the CPE credit, again, our friends at Makers Hub are being our CPE sponsor. There's their CPE number there as well. You will be eligible for 1 hour, just to make sure that you answer the questions in the in the poll questions when we launch the poll questions. In order for you to receive credit or CPE credit, you need to participate in that manner. And those poll questions will be spread out throughout the webinar as well. Our agenda today is really just going to unpack some of that QuickBooks news and updates that we've had over the past quarter or 6 months or so, since we've had one of these in the past. And we'll talk about some of the Facebook group update and issues that we've seen in there. So our first poll question is not on my screen. Let's see. Do you need CPE for this webinar? And while you're answering that, I'm going to share this to the Facebook group. But Michelle, this is weird because you're retired. So what do we talk about while they're answering the poll question? Oh,
I
muted.
I just came back. Something happened and it had to reconnect me. So what did I miss? What was the question?
I'm just launching the first poll question and was wondering what we talk about do you see anything in the chat or the comments that we want to talk about while people are answering this first poll question?
Not yet. I did not see anything this time, but we did want to thank Makers Hub for doing CPE for this one.
Makers
year.
Hub. Makers
I'm
Hub.
sorry, Makers Hub.
I was talking with Ted, and maybe that's their slogan is like, by using Makers Hub, you won't need Makers Mark.
Yeah, there you go. I typed it right in the chat. I did thank him correctly in the chat. I apologize. It kicked me out and rebooted, and that kind of threw me off there. Sorry about that.
The struggles of doing a live webinar, that's for sure.
I tell you. Yeah.
Okay. Well, looks like most people have answered the first poll question, so I'll go ahead and stop that, and we'll move on here. Okay. So a little bit about the QB Power Users Facebook group. You want to talk about some of the history behind it with you and Hector and those types of things?
Well, we created the Facebook group because we would have these great webinars and things, and then we would have finished the discussion and people, wanted to continue talking and chatting with one another and all that stuff. And so we created the Facebook group, and we kept it in closed groups. We didn't just let anybody in, trying to keep the spammers down and also trying to keep the clients out so we could discuss things without clients seeing everything. Hopefully, they still can slip through the cracks. So you never want to post anything online, assuming that your clients not see it. Always assume they can. But anyway, it is a place where we help one another, where we can go out and say, has anybody ever used this app? Or I need an app for this. Or, what are your thoughts on this app? Or I have this problem. What do you suggest? And it's a place for people to ask help. Hey, I'm new getting into e-commerce, but I got this client. What does somebody suggest? It's a place for us to help one another. We all have to learn and get started, and we all, need to help one another one time. And that's the thing that I have always loved is, I started my practice from my basement back in the day where we used to have Suite A for attic and Suite B for basement because you were embarrassed to tell people you were working out of your home. And it was really tough because you were on your own and we had to go to chamber luncheons and go to meetings and stuff. And you didn't talk about the fact that you worked from your home. So you didn't have your peers to bounce ideas from. And it was so much harder. Whereas today we have, social media and we have the ability to network with our peers all over the place. And that's where, go into these conferences, Scaling the Heights or whatever, and being able to meet people in real life, being able to meet them online in these Facebook groups, you get to know other people and you meet people that you can network with so you can bounce ideas off of them and you can then have a group of peers so you're not totally alone. So you can be like, hey, Dan, have you used Makers Hub and what are your thoughts on it? And does it work for you? And do you think that would be a good fit for my client? I think I'm going to reach out to Ted and see what, he can do to help me. You can exchange those kind of ideas with people so much easier. And so this Facebook group has been a great support system for a lot of people that have their own firm or a small firm to help each other. And the idea is when you need some help or have a question, you post your stuff out there. But then you turn around and when you've got a few extra minutes sometime and you want to sit down and have a break and, drink your coffee or your tea, then you sit down maybe and you answer a couple of questions and help somebody else as well. So it's all about us helping one another. So like you posted out there, people helping people. You get help when you need it, but you also turn around and you help one another. And initially, I know when I first started and Hector too, we put a lot of time into it. And I know you and Hector still do, but a lot of it is self-sufficient where people really do a lot of it themselves now. So I think that's right.
That's one of the things that I've noticed lately. I felt initially, hey, I got to go in and make sure everybody's getting the right information and those types of things. But now it's one of those things where I'll see a post and I'll go and I'll look at the comments and it looks like it's already been answered. And that's what's really amazing about this community and this Facebook group is that the willingness that people have to be able to help each other. It is an election year, and emotions are high. I guess it's probably the nicest way to say that. And social media isn't always the best place to air those grievances sometimes. And sometimes that comes in because we are human after all. And that's just one of the things that we want to keep in mind when helping each other, is to keep it solution focused rather than bringing up more problems. But we'll definitely see some of the problems that have been brought up over the course of the past 6 months as we go through this. And one of the things that we've been trying to do with the Facebook group, because people are putting in so much valuable time, is giving back to the community and the world at large. Because I've seen some really great answers, and we'll talk about one of them today from Alicia Cat Pollock. This is somebody that's they are a rock star in the QB community, accounting community, and gave an answer for a lot of people that have just been struggling over the past 6-7 weeks. And I'm trying to figure out a way to be able to give back to the world when you see something that is solved and that information is so valuable to the community, or at least the original poster of their question. And the Facebook group is not designed to bypass into it, but sometimes you're just not able to get the right answer that first time, and working within the community, sometimes that is a faster answer, but there's some value in that. And we want to be able to give back to charitable organizations. We're trying to figure out a way to operationalize that. Like when I do see that it is an answered question or the issue is solved, maybe putting in a way that donations can be made. Whatever you feel is the value of the answer that you were given, hey, give that back to your charitable organization of choice. Woo, can't say that. But this way, it would be people helping people. All right. So let's talk about our agenda of things that we're going to be talking about today. The biggest hot topic that we want to talk about, hopefully it's to take the whole webinar again, because we really want to get to these other things too. But the ACH funding change with recurring transactions, we want to talk about why that happened and what options are available. Importing journal entries, using products now on the bank feed, being the ability to text invoices now, texting a link directly from to your customer's phone. Payroll corrections. Hey, we've been dying for this for a long time. So we want to talk a little bit about some advancements in correcting payroll inside of QuickBooks Online. And finally, role-based firm and client access in QBOA. We'll jump into that. If you are unaware, there was a change with regards to ACH, with regards to QuickBooks Online ACH payments. And we'll try to unpack what happened, why the change occurred, and steps to move forward with regards to that. But around mid-July, I started seeing a lot of posts about, hey, there was a delay in ACH payments done through QB payment, and started seeing a lot of fervor around that. It usually is next day funding, right? Once you have a QB payments account and start collecting payments, and once that first deposit is reviewed it switches you normally to next day funding after that's done, right? This caused understandably, some surprise and confusion. And then on top of that, there was a recent pricing announcement with regards to QB payments, which also added to the confusion. So let me try to unpack the normal situation, what normally happens. So when you have a new account for QuickBooks payments, normally you're set at 5 days with regards to the first deposit, whether it's credit card or ACH. And the whole reason behind that is they don't typically, there's no limitations specifically for the dollar amount that you're able to charge and process through QB payments. So it needs to be reviewed and monitored, right? So when there is a credit card payment or an ACH, they have to, there's a big risk when it comes to money movement, and they want to make sure that that everything is working properly. In the past, if you charged more than, or if you said that you charged more than $10,000 in a month, you had to do a lot of underwriting steps, right? You had to send in bank statements to prove that you had the funds, because when it comes to payments in any payment industry, there are three parties involved. There's the charging customer, there's the receiver of the funds, and then there is the payment processor that's in between. And that payment processor in between takes on some risk when it comes to moving money from one bank or one financial institution to another. And they want to mitigate the risk by making sure that those transactions are going to flow from customers to the source, and to the depositing bank account. So the way they solved that and avoided a lot of the headaches of having to upload all of the 6 months of bank statements and those types of things is by doing this review process for new accounts. So they review the transactions, which unfortunately, if you're charging every day, that kind of makes a log jam. And then they review that first deposit, and then everything flows in great. And then they switch things over to next day deposit, which next day is based off of 3 p.m. Pacific time cutoff. So as long as those transactions are done prior to that 3 p.m. Pacific time cutoff, then credit card, PayPal, Venmo, ACH, with a caveat of through e-invoice. So you send somebody an invoice and they pay and enter their banking information. That way, that will be next day, and it is still that way. You can see what your funding time is by going to the gear, account settings, and payments, and then you'll be able to see the deposit speed right there. This is actually my business in there, and for bank transfers, it says 1 to 5 days. So that's quite a spread. And I actually did get an ACH payment. I sent an invoice, and right before the power hour, I got 3 emails. One saying it was money's on the way, and then another one that said it was instantly available. So it ACH, and they were paid by ACH. And so that tells me that when you send it in the e-invoice and they pay through bank, that is not this funding delay that we're referring to here today. I wanted to put an article in here about the ACH basics to give an idea of what happens in an ACH process. So as it flows through here, there's two options when it comes to ACHs. One is a push where you're sending money, and our friends at Makers Hope can talk all about that. And then there's a pull where it's coming from someone's bank account into your own. So the ACH process is, you see some of these icons here, and there's a link for the article there. The main thing I want to point out here is at no point do the two banks actually talk to each other. The way I had always described it to folks is that the ACH process is this game of telephone where it goes to the next step, and then it can basically take hours or even days to realize that the funds didn't actually get deposited into the destination bank account. So there's a delay, right? There's a delay, and that's why this ACH delay actually occurred, is because Intuit, again, wants to go back to that less risk option of making sure that the destination bank account received the funds, and it takes a lot of signals going back and forth. It's not as instantaneous as we would hope, because there's actually files involved here being moved between 3 different financial institutions. One is the destination, one is the receiver, and then the other is the payment processor in between. And when we're talking about QB payments and ACH, that payment processor in between is Intuit's financial institution that could potentially take on the risk of a chargeback or any of the 20 different rejection codes that could potentially happen with an ACH. The wrong account was put in, fat fingered, or the account was closed, or there's all sorts of different rejection codes when it comes to why it failed. But because of this process, it's very, and not necessarily archaic, but it does have some flaws built into it. And when something happens in this process, then it basically got to start all over with regards to getting a new funding option. Another thing I wanted to point out is that next day does not equal instant. So this is also creating a little bit of confusion, is because next day and instant funding are 2 different things. As soon as a transaction is charged, if it's eligible for instant funding, and you set that setting. But there's a caveat, right? There's an additional fee. You see a lot of these with like Melio and Bill and other things that will be wanting to send you funds, and you can say, hey, I can get it to you faster. But there's going to typically be a 1% or some kind of charge to get that money faster, because now that intermediary financial institution, whoever is processing the ACH, is now incurring the risk of something going wrong. They offset that risk, chargeback fees and things that come back from the bank by levying an additional fee. Now, in QuickBooks payments, the instant fee is 1%, but it is waived if you're using QB checking as your deposit account. So if you're using the QuickBooks checking bank account, I think it's funded by or the underlying financial institution is Green Dot Bank or Green Bank Dot. I'm not sure. There's a green in there somewhere, but that fee is waived if you use instant deposits and you're using QuickBooks checking as your destination or funding account. And then if you have your other bank accounts linked to that, and you can transfer funds to that, or you can use the envelope, use the built-in functionality associated with that. But that is a unique or a different circumstance than the next day funding that we were all used to. Alicia Katz Pollock, we want to call her out, give a shout out here to Alicia. she shared the answer as to why this all was taking place. In her group is training for QuickBooks users. There's a link there for it. You can join that group to really find out what was happening here. But I summarized it here as well. Recurring ACH transactions. This is where things really are the caveat to all of this, right? So when you create a monthly recurring transaction, it's going to be the banking information is entered by you as the processor, not by the bank holder, right? So that is in and of itself a higher risk transaction because you have to either send some kind of form, an authorization form to the customer, assuming that they are typing or entering their banking information. God forbid they write it down. Lots of different numbers look like other numbers, especially in certain people's penmanship. And then they got to send that information back to you. All of that could be a risky behavior, right? If they're sending it over through email or some non-secure method of getting that information back and forth. But what's going to be happening is that we talked about this on the prior QB Power Hour about the new invoice template. Love it or hate it, it's there. But the new invoicing template will change that process when it comes to monthly recurring ACH transactions, right? So instead of that process of you entering the sales receipt, putting in the banking information inside of your QBO, saving that as a recurring transaction, when you invoice them, they'll have the ability to save and store their banking information on their end, right? So that is less of a risky money movement behavior than in the past. While they're working on that, they changed the funding time for recurring ACH transactions to be the default funding time, which is around 5 days. Because again, we need that telephone game of, hey, I sent you money. Did you get it? Yeah, I got it. So on and so forth down the chain until it actually gets deposited, and all that takes about 5 days. Incidentally, the e-invoices paid by bank or ACH this is not part of this problem that's been identified. This is only dealing with ACH charges that you enter in the banking information inside of QBO, whether it's a recurring or you're receiving a payment and putting in the banking information. Those are more riskier than if the customer does that. Because I got a payment paid by ACH today and it's funded already. So the challenge here is that Intuit, in its wisdom of communication, had no communication about this change. Customer care, as I was seeing the information or as I was seeing the comments and the posts coming into the Facebook group, they were only getting standard answers of maybe it was rejected or those types of things. Because what happened was there was a whole bunch of recurring charges or transactions that were recorded, and those funds were held, which wasn't the normal expectation for that, because they've already had that history of, hey, this worked fine last week or last month or the last time I had done these sort of things. So that was part of I think that in and of itself is part of the challenge of this whole situation, is that there wasn't any communication to the end customers that this was going to happen. So it was all very much a surprise. And if you're used to getting ACH or getting funded within a day, then plan for that for your business. And had we known ahead of time that this was going to be taking place, we could have planned accordingly, and we couldn't because of this issue. And then that just caused more additional frustration when it comes to the account, especially the accountant community and Intuit, right? Many users are looking to switch. That's just another example of that degradation of trust that is happening or occurring. And it's not really, the problem really doesn't seem to lie in the change in the terms of service, because we're all well aware that Intuit can change its terms of service at any time, and it does. It's just that lack of communication, so adjustments could have been made, didn't happen. And then really it just took so much time to get a straight answer. And typically a lot of monthly recurring charges happen around the first of the month. And to compound things, there was a delay in those actually getting charged. The volume of charges that were happening on the first of the month, on top of all of this, just added, it was, I think the word is shit show with regards to that. And Michelle, were you hiding in the background or did you get kicked out again?
No, I've been hiding. So, Dan, I do have a couple of questions. So, yes, the way with the shit show. And again, it's the lack of communication. But so, a couple of questions here. And so I can understand this. And yes, it's communicated. It would have alleviated a lot of the shit show and the frustrations and the people wanting to switch and all this. But okay, so I understand the mitigating the risk, and I understand, okay, even if an Intuit had said, look, when you, the accountant, enters the information, it's not good. We want the client to enter the information, right? They need to enter their own credit card number or their own bank account number. So we've got to make a transition. How are they going to be able to make a transition? Because we can't expect the clients or us or whatever. Let's say I've got a homeowners association with hundreds of these things already set up to automatically charge their dues or whatever, whether it's homeowners association, a daycare center or a fitness center or whatever, where we have all these recurrent sales receipts already set up. Are they going to be able to transition these things to the new way? Or they're not really going to ask people to have to redo all of these, are they? And ask the client to and enter the banking information themselves?
That's a really great question, because this is all part of the new invoice template, which has nothing to do with sales receipts. If you've created these memorized sales receipts with the banking information on it, that does tend to lead me to believe that, you're going to have to recreate these as invoices, send those to your customer, and hope that they set up their banking information properly. And I can see by your the Home Alone.
You see the guy on that picture? Yeah. A lot of people, I think. Not only that, but you would think if that's what's going to have to happen in order for this, I can understand them saying, okay, because of this and because of this transition, we have to change the funding period for a period of time during this transition. I would think a communication would come out and say, look, this is what you have to do. And because of that, we also need to change the funding period during this transition so we don't have overlap. You would think it would all take place like at the same period of time or something during a transition period. Right. Again, it makes no sense. And I think we're going to have more of this frustration coming down the line, I'm afraid.
Yeah, time will tell if there actually is a migration plan. I shudder to use the word migration again, because it always tends to lead with problems or issues like that. But just given the choice, like, okay, you can keep it the way you have it today, just expect those funds to take a little longer because this is the reason why. And then there's some expectations that with regards to that, or you can move these things over, maybe take a handful of customers and clients and do those things. Because the alternative is what other people are doing is they're looking into other alternatives, and none of those have great funding options either when it comes to getting those funds on a faster basis, because they're beholden to the same processes as well. So a couple other things I want to talk about with regards to those alternatives and what I've seen bubble up with regards to people moving to other things is there's Anchor, which is a great platform, and I want to talk a little bit about them. There's Ignition, and I had a workshop that I did with David Weary when he was at Meliel about ways that you can set up as a bookkeeper. You can set up ACH funding to yourself on a recurring basis, and then basically it's free. But of course, all of these things have the same funding time that's pretty much the standard. And Anchor, if you've used Anchor before, their funding for ACH is even longer because of their business model, right? And they're actually looking on being able to change that. But if you haven't checked out Anchor, I have a link in our landing page with a replay and everything. You can check them out. One of the things that I think that's really unique about Anchor is their business model is just based on usage. So if you don't have any subscriptions, it's pay as you go. It's free to set it up and try it out and use it. And you don't pay them anything until you get paid, right? And that payment is $5 per payment, right? So if you have 20 or 100 recurring transactions, you can do the math and figure out how much that is going to cost you, because that's $5 per payment, whether it's ACH or credit card. One of the unique things or things that I like about Anchor is that you can defer the credit card fee to the client, right? If you're all under that, I want to charge the credit card fee. I'm going to take credit cards, but I don't want to take the fee. You can say the customer has to pay that when you send out your engagements through them. But basically you can use it to be able to create engagement letters. They can sign them through the portal. They're saved for them. And it also allows people to manage subscription. So this whole idea of subscription-based recurring, you can set up the good, better, best options already in the proposal. And then when they start to creep into the higher subscription, you can just have them go in and change their subscription right there, because they already have that established for you in their platform, which is really nifty. And I do really like their integration with QBO, the invoices, the payments, the fees automatically synchronize into your QuickBooks. And then there's just some more information about what it does. It's a proposal to paid automation platform. And so we want to ask, again, we're running out of time to talk about these other features.
And perhaps this polling question does, do you use QuickBooks payments to charge ACH? Yes, no, but I'm changing.
Yeah. I did that. And for some reason, the polling question didn't get updated. So I don't have the poll question to launch. Okay.
Years ago, I was using payments And all of a sudden they started charging me like $20 a month. They changed my plan from the free plan to the pay plan without my approval or authorization or anything. And
I do have the poll question. I just labeled it the wrong thing.
There you go. Looking into other options. There you go.
And I interrupted. What were you saying?
No, I was just going to say I was on the free plan of QuickBooks payments. As a ProAdvisor, we had options. You could get a paid plan or a free plan. And I was on free plan. And all of a sudden they changed me for some reason to the plan that was like $19.95 a month. I didn't give them that authorization to change me or anything. I don't know why they did. But they just automatically changed me to the paid plan. And I'm like, why did this happen?
No.
I had to call them and get them to change it back. And then they refunded me the fees. But still, I don't know why that happened. So it's just, they do things like that all the time. And somebody, I think, said that out there. Yeah. Somebody else said that too.
Let's go ahead and I'll leave that poll question up for a little bit longer, but let's move on into some of the newer functions that might be useful and allow you to look past some of these shenanigans. The ability to import journal entries is now available in the US version of QuickBooks. And we did a webinar with Hector and Mark from Right Tool, and Hector actually went through this process of importing the journal entries. So I put a link there for that replay. You can check out. It's funny to see Hector stumble a little bit on that, but it's a good way for him to work through these things. Well, but you can import a CSV file with up to 100 rows of data to be able to bring in journal entries into your QuickBooks without using spreadsheet sync or any other type of third-party process that's built in natively in all versions of QuickBooks.
If you have payroll entries or something like that,
Yep.
Great opportunity.
And then I'm not sure of the rollout of all of this, but with regards to bank fees, you are now able to associate a product or service inside the bank fee when you're accepting transactions, right? So you, instead of just categorizing and doing the splits and those types of things, you can actually just use products or services now to be able to do that as well. Makes it a little easier to create transactions from the bank feed. I have a little mixed feelings about this because a lot of people tend to run their business in the bank feed. And this is a little bit of a challenge sometimes, I think, if they're actually doing workflows like those invoices, those are going to have the products and services on them. And then they can potentially, again, still cause duplication of recognition of revenue or those types of things by encouraging people to do all that in the bank feed. Because you can do splits, you can add your products and services associated to customers, classes, and all the things that a sales transaction would do, with the exception of tracking your sales tax. Doing it right in the bank feed. Michelle?
Mary just had a great question. What about quantity if it is inventory?
Yeah, I wouldn't go that route. If you're wanting to put, I think the default is 1, but I don't think there is a quantity column in there as well. But knowing that it's there, and that's the G.I. Joe of QuickBooks here. We just want you to know that it's there.
Yeah.
And knowing is half the battle.
I think it would be really good on the purchases side where you have construction workers or contractors or people who are doing job costing where they're tracking their purchases and stuff. On the income side, maybe for nonprofit, but not so much on the sales side, just for that purpose. You can't track a quantity and stuff. And I would be more cautious on the sales side, but on the purchases for tracking the expenses, definitely for the job costing side.
Absolutely. I think
but not for inventory.
Right. Another thing we want to talk about as well is that you can now send your invoice through text. So this is an enhancement of the QuickBooks payment. This may be an alternative to sending out all of those invoices. You can just send it to them through text and they can enter their bank information there. Hopefully their thumbs are as nimble as they should be to make sure that they enter in the banking information properly. But when you have QB payments, this is different than your shareable link that you can then copy and text to them. It'll ask at the top to be able to, for the customer's phone number, and then you can, as soon as you save it, it sends them a text as well as the email for the invoice. So this is just another way to communicate, hey, pay me to your customer. And this long awaited for payroll corrections, you can now adjust your paycheck even after it's deposited, or your employees' paychecks, I should say. You just can't adjust it if taxes have been already paid, right? So if you've already made the deposit to pay the tax payments to the IRS or the state or what have you, then you won't be able to make adjustments to the paycheck. But you can make adjustments to a check, even if it has been deposited. So you can just make those edits within there. Of course, if it changes the net of the paycheck, you definitely want to make sure you're communicating that to your employee for doing that. But this is a step in the right direction to be able to make your paycheck adjustments or payroll adjustments inside of QuickBooks Online Payroll. I forgot to end the poll here. And this other one is a really great one, which is the role-based access to clients' books. I think I'm trying to remember. I think it was July or April of 2020 when Intuit announced that the Your Books section of QBOA, was always plus up to that point, was finally getting online advanced functions inside of the Your Books section of QuickBooks. And the last thing to make its way into that is the roles, because QuickBooks Online Advanced had these various other roles and customizations that you could do with regards to team access. And that was always a sticking point with your team when you invite a team member inside of QuickBooks into your firm. There was just a basic, full, and a custom, which really just gave them access to the company admin side of things, or managing the subscriptions and those types of things, was all you could do when you're inviting a team member. Give them, it was a light switch as far as the role. It was on or off.
Yeah.
Right?
All or nothing.
and this is mirroring the role-based permissions from QuickBooks Online Advanced inside of the team. So when you're inviting or adding a team member inside of your QBOA, you can now give them accounts payable access, on or off, and all of the various check marks where you can, maybe they need to be an approver for bills and those types of things. So the bill clerk and the bill approver, as well as the standard accounts receivable, accounts payable, customer access, and those types of things. So this was a welcome change and really great final. What took you so long, but it was very complicated from my understanding of user access, and they wanted to do it right. And from all things that I've seen so far, this has been a non-issue because it's just an ability to do these things inside of your firm. Michelle?
Do you know, and I haven't tested it, do the user access and the user roles and access, does it also work on the mobile app to restrict access on the mobile app?
I think it's a lot of the restrictions or the abilities to do inside of the mobile app requires you to be a company admin for a lot of those functionality. I have not actually tested a team member. Now you've given me homework.
Sorry, man. I didn't. It used to be, and I haven't tested it in years.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not going to say. I don't know. I haven't tested it in a long time. So I don't know.
I'm in my own firm many times, so I shouldn't be too hard to check it out. I'll try it out after the webinar today. And
sweet. I haven't done that testing. I don't know.
All right. So this real quick highlight of those new functions or features. There's plenty of others to really talk about, and we'll pick that up in our next iteration. But which of these new features do you find most useful? And I even put the ACH funding change in there. Oh, I didn't put it as an option.
That's okay. I can vote, but the one on the products and the bank fee, from the perspective of purchasing and tracking and job costing, that would be my bet. I would be excited about that one from that perspective.
Yeah, it's like the Uncle Ben. With great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah,
as long as it's used properly, I think that is a great ad in the bank feed. And like I said, I have mixed feelings about that because I tend to see challenges with QuickBooks being that workflows are broken, right? And if they are using workflows in one area, of an estimate to an invoice to a payment, that could certainly be a problem. And then if they're using bills to bill payments and then using the products and services on the expense, that once that's hit, that could also be a problem as well. But yeah, if you know what you're doing.
Yeah. If it's a big word in that one.
Exactly. So, appreciate you joining us here. My other laptop just rebooted in the middle of it, so I don't know if I can stop the live feed. I'll see about that.
I can stop our recording, but not the live.
Yeah, the webinar is fine. It's just where it's posting on YouTube and in the Facebook groups. So I'll probably have to reboot that machine again and log that out. But we appreciate you joining us and seeing our struggle. me struggle more than anybody else. But Michelle, it's great to see you.
As always, Dan. You've done fabulous as always. Thank you for all your work. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
All right. We'll see you next time on the Power Hour. Have a great day, everyone.
We hope you enjoyed listening to the QB Power Hour podcast. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in our Facebook group. You can find those resources and much more at qbpowerhour.com.